Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Kieran.
And Lee.
How are we all doing after the Mexico Grand Prix?
Yeah.
Hey! First intro.
Yeah, credit Sean for that one. That was an interesting race, wasn't it?
It was all right.
I enjoyed it.
One of the better ones of the year, I think.
Yeah. I like the idea of a two-part race.
Sprinklers, by any chance? Is that the next idea?
Have you heard of NASCAR?
Apparently NASCAR are bringing in wet weather tyres. Yeah. I mean,
Don't they all take place in like arid deserts?
except for the ones that don't. But yeah, they're looking at being able to run on wet ovals.
It's voodoo. It'll never catch on.
They'll make them turn right next. Although the last pre-season NASCAR race that I watched, the one that they had at the LA Coliseum, which I think they're doing again this year, they actually had a half-time interval and half-time entertainment. Yeah, make it that what you will. And it wasn't even a country and western band.
Oh.
Some kind of rapper. Anyway, we're completely and utterly digressing. So, what do we think of the race then? There was some interesting moves.
Mm-hmm.
Some actual genuine, really good overtakes.
Yeah, it was quite eventful, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. More overtakes than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just don't remember last year very well.
I'm trying to remember what happened in last year's race, and you know what? I can't.
No.
I'm
Which
going
probably
to put my
tells
neck
you all
on
you
the
need to
line
know.
and say not much.
And of course, Perez in front of his home crowd.
Yeah.
Do we want to address these rumours now? Because, I mean, the internet's been...
Yeah.
Which
I think by
ones?
rumours you mean 100% cast iron facts that are definitely going to happen.
Yeah, but the problem is there are three of them, and they all manage to contradict each other.
There were a few versions, aren't there?
But there's only one which has led Lee to the Red Bull merch website.
And climax.
So, yeah, I mean, rumour number one is that Alonso's going to Red Bull next season. I don't think...
Which would be fucking fabulous, wouldn't it? If even if you don't like Alonso, it's fucking box office.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but so was the Tyson Fury fight on Saturday, you know, where he was fighting, I don't know, fucking Barney the dinosaur or something and got knocked down.
He was fighting Francis Ngannou, I can't pronounce his surname, Ngannou.
Yeah, who completely and utterly destroyed him, and that result was an absolute sham.
Absolutely, like I was so surprised watching that back. I didn't watch it live. I completely forgot about it, to be perfectly honest. And fucking wild.
But
This is a Formula One show.
yeah, it is. Although we didn't talk about much Formula One during the Patreon show. Highlights of which will be at the end of this. I'll stick 5 minutes on just so you can...
Ngannou's got some fucking neck on him. That's a chunky neck.
Is it 75% of him, though? That is the question.
You could say thick with two C's.
Good.
But only if you listen to the Patreon.
Just explain this now, Paul.
Right. On tonight's Patreon show, we have... I say we, because we're all taking the blame for this. We have acquired a copy.
Fuck. It is you. It is all you. I'm not taking any blame. Sorry, Paul.
We've acquired a copy of Overtake My Heart, the Danny Ricciardo fan/fiction book pamphlet. And
Acquired. It's like it was a leak.
we
It's come into our possession.
Yeah, you bought it. You've spent money on it.
yeah. I've spent money on it as donated by patrons. And we decided to shamelessly rip off My Dad Wrote a Porno by reading bad porn fiction and basically taking the piss out of it. And we've only got 15% in, so there's still plenty more of it to go. And out of the 15% so far, 12% I would say has been about Danny Rick's neck. Any advance on 12?
Yeah. I think 12 sounds about
There's
right.
been a neck per sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear that, go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels and sign up from as little as $1, €1 or £1 a month, and you will get to hear, well, us basically ripping off My Dad Wrote a Porno with something that thankfully my dad didn't write.
Though I'd love to see his version.
He's an 86-year-old Yorkshireman. All he writes is letters of complaint. So, yes. So, rumour one, Alonso going to Red Bull in apparently a straight swap with Checo.
See,
It's probably the best outcome for Checo.
But if you'd have told, if you'd have said to me, Alonso's going to Red Bull, I'd have gone, that's clearly nonsense. But in the context of like a seat swap, you go, actually, I can see that.
It could work.
Checo gets to go home. Fernando gets a 1-year deal with Red Bull, so he can win some races. And they sign Lando Norris when his contract's up the next year.
Although the other Alonso to Red Bull one was Checo doesn't go to Aston Martin. Checo gets fired completely. Tsunoda goes to Aston Martin, and Lawson gets his seat.
No.
That sounds... Yeah, Tsunoda to Aston Martin I'm not seeing.
Lawson needs to have a full-time drive.
Yes, that I'm seeing, yeah.
And Red Bull won't send Lawson on loan to Aston Martin because that is a bloody quick car.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Aston Martin are about to get bought out by either or both of a Saudi prince and Aramco. Which could mean Stroll's out on his ear.
Oh, no. You just got... okay, I guess I'll take it.
I mean, he worked so hard for that seat.
Can we have a whip round? Sure. No, we'll actually go whip you.
I mean, maybe Kieran, your idea from the chat on Sunday could be modified a bit. Instead of Secret Santa, get him a leaving present of some wing mirrors.
Yeah. It's. I think the most likely outcome, if it is, this is all hypothetical, isn't it? It's probably going to end up being, Hungary has extended its contract to 2032. What a rumor! But I reckon if it's something which is, then Strolls have been bought out. Lance leaves immediately. Checo takes the seat. Danny goes to Red Bull.
Yeah, because that was the other one. Danny gets Checo's seat. Checo gets the choice of AlphaTauri or whatever they're going to be called next season. Or that's it, you're done, and in comes Lawson.
Yeah.
But it's not looking good for Perez. I mean, Christian Horner said he can't blame him for it.
See,
even though he admitted himself it was 100% his fault. But as we all know,
do you think Alonso would leave? Though, do you think Alonso would leave Formula One for right now?
No. I think he's here for next year.
So
he's not retiring.
So if the Red Bull move isn't on, he's staying with Aston Martin.
Or whatever they're called next year, Aramco
Racing,
Saudi Saudi Republic Fund Racing or whatever.
Yeah,
Newcastle United FC F1.
We've mentioned, what was it, Formula Premier League or whatever it was before, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't help think that. I like the idea of Alonso going to Red Bull, but whoever goes to Red Bull, I can't help think is on a hiding to nothing, because it's so obvious Red Bull want to sign Lando Norris, and Lando would be a fucking idiot not to go to Red Bull. So whoever takes that seat's only taking it for a year. So it could be bad news for Ricciardo, if he's trying to rehabilitate himself.
I thought Lando got two more years at McLaren.
Is it 26 he's up, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was 25.
No, I think it's 26.
Right, okay. Okay, no, that makes more sense then. Makes more sense for both Ricardo or Alonso, doesn't it? Because clearly whoever goes there would be on a one-on-one deal, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, would have thought so. I mean, I can't see Alonso retiring. I can see him making a shock move. I mean, he said that Aston Martin have got nothing to race for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think Danny could go to Red Bull, and if he's still parked by Max, then so be it. I mean, 4 months ago he was out of the sport. Last year he wasn't doing anything really in the McLaren. He left Red Bull for a dodgy decision, left Renault for a dodgy decision, left McLaren, got paid out. It'd almost be a blessing for him to go back to Red Bull, even to play the Checo Perez role, the Alex Albon role to Max, because at least he's there. Nothing left to lose. He ain't becoming world champion in AlphaTauri
No.
or a Haas or wherever he goes next.
No.
He's not going back to Mercedes. He's not going to McLaren. That's never happening. He's not going to Ferrari. Well, he could go to Ferrari, elder statesman, but I don't think that's what they're into. He's not going to Mercedes because unless Lewis drops his retirement this year, I think they go for someone else.
Well, Lewis has just signed a new, 3-year deal? Mm-hmm. Or two and one.
Yeah.
So that's not happening. He's not going to Aston Martin. That's maybe his most likely contender, depending on what happens with the Strolls and all that. So Danny to play the fall guy at Red Bull for 2 years, then go to, I don't know, marketing, whatever he does afterwards.
Supercars.
Supercars.
He could play the Jenson Button how to become a world champion card and try and go to Audi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now there's rumours going around about Audi actually possibly not coming in.
I saw
they're getting
that.
stronger, apparently.
But I read that this afternoon, and I find that weird because they're essentially ready to go. They've been building the engine, they've half bought into Sauber. I don't. That seems weird. I can't help but think that this rumor is swirled up in amongst all this other chaos that's going on.
Yeah, one of the journalists said they think it might have been slightly spread by other teams to, stop them from poaching their staff and all that.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget also in 2 years' time we may have Andretti as well, so there might be an extra couple of seats on the grid.
Yeah.
Do you think Andretti can actually manage to get the way in?
I don't know, because the teams seem not keen, don't they? And they'll get a vote.
That is a ridiculous rule.
It is a ridiculous rule.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They've said, the grid can have up to 26 cars on it. But we don't want to set any more than 20.
Well, this is the problem with them. When Liberty first came in, it was that whole idea of the teams becoming stakeholders in Formula One, and I don't think you can. Sorry, I shouldn't say I don't think you can have, because there clearly is a working sport, but I don't think you can have a smoothly running sport where the teams have like a massive power play over how the sports run, because everyone's only ever going to want to do things in their own interest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, the teams are now trying to run it like a cartel. It's their exclusive club. They've bought their way in, or they've been there since the start, so they're allowed to say what they want and do what they want, and nobody else can join the club unless you pay over the odds to buy one of us out. We're not for sale.
It's oversimplifying it.
Yeah, until a Middle Eastern country that's oil rich comes calling, and then.
But it's oversimplifying it to say that there should be X amount of spots on the Formula One grid. If you have one of those spots, you're given a piece of paper before the year. Say, this is what next year's car is going to be like. This is what the rules are. If you would like to compete in our championship, there you go. And that's where the team's involvement should start and stop, as far as I'm concerned. Is if they want to compete. If they don't want to compete, then they don't come in.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, Liberty or Fwonk or whatever they're trading under. They are the commercial rights holder to the FIA Formula One Championship.
Was that Fwonk, did you say?
Yeah, that's their share ticker.
Is it?
Yeah.
God, okay.
Yep, the Formula One shares.
How are you spelling that?
FWONK.
Yes, apparently it is.
Yeah.
There you go, look at that.
If they bought the NBA, would it be Slam Dunk the Funk?
Yeah, but then they'd only allow 5 IVE teams.
Sorry, how are you spelling it?
FW, as in Frank Williams, ONK. Fwonk.
I wrote PWONK, which took me straight to Urban Dictionary. And we've got an E next to the podcast, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, did you ponk her last night?
I hope they never go out of business. They'll be defunct. I'm out.
Is that you spent?
Yeah, good.
Between that and Danny Rick's thick neck. Should we do some teams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, I think we have to start with Aston Martin.
Yes.
Utterly fucking bilge this weekend.
It's like comedy bad. Sorry,
They
Lee.
have just given up, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think they've given up. I don't think they know what the problem is. That's the thing.
I'm gonna have to look back and see who said this. During the chat, we got during the race, we've got like a watch party chat that's run on Discord, and it's all text chat, so it doesn't interrupt the race. But somebody said, "What's the odds on Aston Martin being the worst team this weekend?" And somebody replied, even while both cars were still nominally on track, seeing as they've only got one car, then the chances of them being the worst team are actually improved. I mean, Stroll didn't race in the car that he qualified in because they changed that much of it after qualifying.
Yeah, he had to go to pit lane like last week, didn't he?
Yeah. What was it? New floor, new wings,
New side pods.
Lobotomy.
Latopi.
Yeah, that's not the sequel to the Patreon book.
And he was still running just about last when they retired him with 5 laps to go. I mean,
They didn't like retire him though, did they? He had crash damage.
Yeah, he had a thing, didn't he, with Bottas?
of course, Bottas ploughed into him.
Yes.
It was Alonso that they retired, who apparently he got debris damage and had been struggling. But
Yeah, he got debris damage, it's just that none of us saw that happen.
Yeah, apparently it was from the Leclerc shunt at the first corner.
yeah, I mean, there was a bit of Leclerc's wing hanging round right on the apex of turn 1 for a good sort of 3 or 4 laps, even under the VSC.
Yeah. Yeah, and all those little tiny microfiber and bits can go through, as we saw before a race. Oscar had a piece of paper underneath his card, didn't he? So
Yeah, someone's
does
shopping
happen.
list.
Was it?
It looked like it was just like a piece of shite. It was. It looked very sort of just some piece of paper.
Yeah, I mean, that is how finely balanced the cars are. And of course, you get the constant complaints about tear-offs getting caught in brake ducts and wrapping around wings, and you lose about 2 or 3 tenths with a bit of plastic that's not meant to be there.
Yeah.
But I mean, for Alonso to get debris damage, surely he was going that slow enough he'd have been able to see it.
Yeah, it's tricky sometimes, isn't it?
So, yeah.
I feel for Alonso because he's just going backwards, isn't he? He's never going to re-overtake even Sainz, so he's level on points with in the championship. He's probably going to lose out to Lando, maybe Leclerc. I don't know. Probably not George. He'll lose out a couple more spaces in the championship. He'll finish 7th or something.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the year as well, Aston Martin were nailed on for top 3 in the constructors. And
He was like outside of the championship as well, at the beginning of the season.
yeah. And yeah, they've just gone backwards. If the team is up for sale, then what is Daddy Stroll trying to do a scorched earth policy? If you can hear purring in the background, that Shauna's got a cat on a lap and another cat sat next to her washing the lap cat.
It's all getting a bit much.
Yeah, that's about all we can say about them. I think Alfa Romeo next. As it finished, Bottas crossed the line 14th, but had a 5-second penalty for stupid move really on Stroll.
See, when I saw it first time, I think Flood said this in the chat. I agreed with him. Stroll pushed him off, and he didn't get a chance to have a go at the next corner. So they're always going to come together. I guess the more I see it, yeah, he could have considered that he was never going to be in the next corner and just let Stroll go.
But yeah, he just seemed a little bit petulant.
Bored, probably. I mean, what else was going on in his race?
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting thing that they actually said about Bottas all day was he scored points in last year's race.
Did he now?
Again and again. They kept going. When was he on pole here, David? Well, I'll tell you that, Martin. He was on pole here. Oh, really? You only said that 7 minutes ago.
Him and Zhou finishing together, that shows you where the car is.
Yeah.
And it shows that they are fairly equally matched drivers, which, considering Bottas was winning races and thought at one point he could be a potential world champion.
He thought. I mean, I'm not sure many others did.
I was going to say, he thought it. Toto and James Vowles had other opinions. And I think Lewis did as well.
I don't think Lewis noticed.
Oh, little Finnish guy with the tash. Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Moves out of the way a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't lapping him. Gee, he led the race. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, Alfa Romeo were just... the participation award column is getting bigger as the season goes on. And, they
participated.
They were definitely there. Next up, I think probably Haas. Hulk ended up in 13th. I mean, he was running 10th for ages, and then everyone just got bored and passed him.
Yeah. There's that cringeworthy bit of radio, wasn't there, from Ocon going, go down to Haas and tell him I'm going to come and get you. And then 10 seconds later, he launched his first assault in the first corner, got a massive swapper on and went, oh, shit, actually, yeah, it's probably...
No, it's like I said in our chat yesterday, he sent it when he was going to. It's just that DHL were in charge of delivering it, so it took longer to get there.
Yeah.
I've an irrational dislike for just the whole Alpine outfit, I think.
But you've hidden it well, I think, over this course of the season.
Yeah, you've hardly mentioned it tonight.
I've booked Ocon to come and sing carols at your door at Christmas. I'll scrub that off.
I mean, the thing is,
we're
not even talking about Alpine. We're talking about Haas. You're saying how much you don't like Alpine. This is like when a mate of ours went to see The Prodigy a few years ago, and every time we asked him what were The Prodigy like, all he would tell us was that Dizzy Rascal was supporting them and he was shit. I still don't know how good The Prodigy are, but apparently Dizzy Rascal is shit.
You send Ocon round carol singing at Christmas, and I'm going to book Adrian Siltil to come round for drinks to greet him.
Given how fast Adrian Sutil wasn't going in the Ferrari Challenge Second Division final this Sunday, I would get him to set off now and he might make it for Easter. Seriously,
can we stop going on about necks?
Seriously, it was the Ferrari Challenge World Final at Mugello this weekend, and Adrian Sutil is in the second division and came fourth in his race.
Very, very average.
Dear.
Moment's silence filled with purring for Adrian Sutil's career. So yes, we were talking about Haas. I was just about to say. Hulk was going backwards. It looks like Haas have improved with the tyre degradation. And I think it was all down to the back end of the car. Now that worked out, they've got the new rear wing and what angle it should be at, which they got wrong last week, which is why both cars started in the pit lane. But that crash of K-Mags, that was fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Prodigy are good live. They're that was meant to be a joke.
Are they better than Dizzy Rascal?
That did not pay off. I did see Dizzy Rascal support Muse, and I can say that whilst there is varying opinions on the works of Muse, not better than Muse.
It does seem to support some odd musicians then, because Muse and Prodigy you wouldn't necessarily put with Dizzy Rascal.
Depends what festival it was, I suppose.
He crashed harder than Kevin Magnussen at the.
Oh, nice.
Is it because he had a suspension failure?
No, he was shit.
Now, apparently, it was his brakes overheating that caused the suspension failure, not that massive off he had at.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Turn one on the previous lap.
Got you.
A likely story.
Is it not more likely though that what caused him to eventually crash caused him to have the off?
You sound like you're dying there. Are you all right?
got a bit of Dorito right deep down the back of the throat.
I mean, as we found out tonight, necks can be 75% of the person, so it's got a long way to get it back.
Call a doctor. Get an arm down there.
Doctor or James Herriot.
Just an awkward crash, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it looked nasty. He looked a bit shaken up when he got out. I think once the adrenaline left him and he'd come off autopilot, he kind of sagged.
You probably just knocked the wind out of him more than anything. He did go to the medical centre and they kept him there for observations for a bit, but he was fine.
Yeah. But yeah, improvements from Haas, but I think that's the best we'll see of them for the rest of the season. Hopefully they can get something turned around for next year's car.
Yeah, it has done though.
I don't know, because I mean, they've got legitimate sponsorship.
Maybe
They
this
don't
is the
seem to be able
easy
to do anything with it, though, do they?
in for Andretti. I don't know. Could be.
I mean, it's hard for them because they're buying as much as they can of the car in kit form. They're not even doing the chassis themselves. It's Dallara that's building it for them. And normally with a team that builds the chassis, they can get bolt-on parts made to that exact specifications that they built. But if they're not actually in charge of overseeing the building of the chassis, things can go awry. And I think that's the case, and that's what may make the car a little bit unbalanced because they aren't there at every stage of the process. They're seeing the data readouts when they put the car through the wind tunnel or they do various tests on the chassis. I don't know what tests they do, but they're not doing it themselves. That's being done at the Dallara factory in Italy. So, I think they're the team that actually knows less about their car than any other team. I was waiting for somebody to tell me I was wrong there, but...
No,
I'm on
makes
board,
sense.
yeah.
It just feels like because they reduced the amount of parts, didn't they? From when Haas first came in, they reduced what you could buy off the shelf.
Yeah, because I think it was about 60% at the time, and I think it's around about 35 now.
Yeah, it was basically fucking a resprayed Ferrari for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it on paper it seems like a really good way for a Formula One team to get in, but I think in practice what they've lacked in having to use their own ingenuity. I don't. It doesn't seem like you can get that back easily.
Yeah, I think. I mean, their whole racing business model is getting a pre-made chassis and doing Haas things to it because I mean they're a NASCAR team, so they get the NASCAR chassis, and then
but that's a stock car series, so it
Yeah.
that's fine for that, but
Yeah.
it's not working in
But
F1.
that doesn't work in F1. It'd work great in IndyCar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think Haas would make an absolutely fantastic IndyCar team because, you know, they can take the bits that they buy in or have to buy in or get as part of the package and do good things with them. You know, they proved that in the first ever race that they did.
I reckon in IndyCar you get a world champion Nico Hulkenberg as well.
Certainly get a podium.
Yeah, get somewhere, wouldn't he?
Then he could
I
be
think he'd be
2/3
good.
of the way to the Triple Crown.
Oh,
Yeah.
what has he won Le Mans?
He may have won Le Mans once upon a time.
Bugger me, I didn't notice that.
He was good this weekend, Hulkenberg. He just, he did the classic, these tyres are great, these are brilliant, I'm going to be in the points. So, Ocon's gone past, there's Gasly.
Yeah, I think it was a stretch too far for that last set of tyres, but I mean he gave it a go, and I mean that's something that Hulk's always done. He's given it his best shot.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
patronising.
Thinking about that really does sound patronising. But I mean, he's
High performance athlete, one of supposedly the 20 best drivers in the world. But he's the one that gives it his best.
well, I mean, he's there's been times where he's got more out of a car than he certainly should have done.
Yeah.
Especially when it was the COVID filling.
Well, yeah. The year at Sauber in 2013, I want to say, post Williams, pre Force India. He was constantly putting in 4th, 5th, 6th places in that Sauber, which should have been nowhere near it.
Yeah, that car was barely a point scoring car.
I think the
I
main
can't
issue as
remember
well.
his teammate was.
I can't remember who his teammate was either, but I think the main thing he had that year was that I think had Perez been there and then went somewhere else, so he essentially inherited a car built around someone with the frame of Perez. And they spent most of the year trying to just figure out how to fit all of him in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the year that Perez went to McLaren, wouldn't it?
It probably would have been, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look up who his teammate
Would it have been
was.
Felipe
Gutierrez?
Nasser?
I think it's a bit early
Might
for
be
NASA.
slightly early for Nasser.
I think NASA might be about 2015.
Yeah. That was the blue Sauber as well,
Yes,
wasn't it? With
that's
the
very true. Yes.
yellows. Yeah, the
I
yellow
want to say it was
extras.
probably Gutierrez or Sutil, wasn't it?
It was. It was Gutierrez.
Ah.
Yeah, Mr. 11th himself.
He was an irritating looking chap, wasn't he?
A lot of neck.
I couldn't
lot of
picture
neck
him.
and then like a teeny tiny
Oh,
head.
yeah.
Yeah, he was built like a pinhead.
He has got a very small head. I'm looking at a picture of him now.
He
Yeah,
looks
but it's like
a-
it's spherical though,
aero.
isn't it? It's perfectly round.
He's a 12-year-old who's won a wish to become a real boy and stand behind Toto in the garage every weekend. I'm sure he's lovely. He's the F1 driver born closest to me because I think I'm 2 weeks older than him or so, or he's 2 weeks older than me.
I think mine was probably Michael Schumacher.
I don't know about mine. Alonso and Button wouldn't be too far away from me.
I think I'm Buemi. I think he's a couple of months older than me.
We shall have to do some research on this and find out. Right. I'll tell you what, Lee, we'll do Alpine now. Your favourite team.
Well, they didn't really do anything, did they?
They got a point.
Okay. But it was a boring point.
Well, it was, I don't know, it wasn't, they weren't there, were they? They just sort of, again, participated.
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall either driver doing anything particularly, I don't know, notable, spectacular.
We now have a situation where there's 4 clearly best teams of Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren. We don't know where Aston Martin stacks up right now. We think Alpine is probably better than, say, both the Alphas, Tauri and Romeo,
Yeah.
but and Haas. But they're sort of a nothing team at the moment. They don't have a reason to exist. which is a real shame because I do like Ocon. I said last week, well, I'm not mad on Gasly, or at least Gasly I think is maybe marginally overrated. It's just a shame that they can't pull it all together. They're just sort of they're keen, you know.
They try their best.
They were exciting for 20 minutes, and now they're playing every forest in the UK.
I mean, you say there's no reason for Alpine at the moment. There is. It's to give famous people a chance to invest money in them.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it, that the investors they're getting into that team?
Yeah, I mean, I said this in the chat on Sunday, the Discord chat. I am surprised that Tom Cruise hasn't put money into that yet, because it seems like the kind of thing he'd do, and he'd turn up to give like motivational speeches.
Well, hasn't he got a Formula One film coming out?
That's Brad Pitt.
I thought Tom Cruise was doing something as well.
He's mates with Lewis, isn't he?
He turned up, didn't he? He turned up at an F1 race, I think, to promote the last Mission Impossible, but
right.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think F1 is in it in any form.
Oh my god!
Oh, I think he drives an Aston Martin in it, so that's probably why he was there.
I've got such little excitement to watch that Formula One film with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be a remake of Driven, which was shit, and we all need to get drunk and watch that at one point. We can all stay at home and do it virtually. I'll do a stream between us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I want to show it to Jane. She's never seen it. I'm well up for that.
Yeah, I've never seen it as well, so we'll do a...
Oh, haven't you?
No, and if anyone wants to join us, tell you what, we'll stream it on Discord, and we'll have a film club night like we did during COVID.
Yeah,
sounds great.
We'll get that sorted out over the winter.
I jumped there slightly because I hit something wrong on my My laptop's connected to the TV in my office, and just a massive photo of Gutierrez came up.
Slender Man is watching you.
I'll take a photo and send it to the chat. But it's also not a flattering photo of him. It's just...
Why you not like Gutierrez?
It's petrifying.
Let's have a look.
But yeah, that's the only reason I can see Alpine doing things at the minute. Give it another couple of years, and the whole Renault organisation will probably pull out of F1 again, and they'll be back 2 years later.
Probably.
Oh my god!
This picture you sent of Gutierrez. What is the suspicious tissue right in front of the picture? Of
That is Chandra. That's unrelated. That is nasal. Oh god! I never got an F1 podcast saying no. I wasn't doing that.
I think I've just found this week's cover picture. I'm getting bored of using team ones because they always seem to be Red Bull. We'll use that.
Deal.
What worries me more is that tissue appears to be more about wiping that screen down than it does anything else.
When I used
every week.
When I used to work in IT sales, somebody actually once asked if you could get USB windscreen wipers for laptops.
God.
Moving swiftly on. Where do we go after Alpine? I guess it's probably going to be Williams next.
Oh, yeah.
Another good.
They score points.
Yeah, Albon got 9th. Another good performance from him. Logan Sargent continues to turn up for race weekends unabated.
He was kind of doing all right. He was running 12th, wasn't he? And then they had to retire him due to a fuel pump issue, which I'm sure was definitely not to do with him nearly running out of fuel.
They retired him, on the last
moments
corner.
before the end of the race.
Yeah, he was 12th just before the last corner, and I think they realised, we've not got enough fuel to get him round and get the 1 kilo sample that has caused issues in the past.
But there was a safety car.
Yeah.
And it's Logan Sargent. He's hardly fucking caning it round, is he?
He was in 12th, which by Logan Sargent standards...
I mean, he has scored points.
They must have underfueled him by a gallon.
I mean, he scored points by crossing the line in 12th.
True.
Yeah. And Leclerc was under investigation yesterday after a race.
Yeah, you would think
Piastri.
even with a bit of a fuel pump situation, you would think they would want him to kind of limp across the line at that point.
Yeah, because you're guaranteed 16th if you park it. You might get 12 if
Yeah.
you carry on. 12 asterisks, but still 12. You show your worth. It would have been his second best finish in F1 as well.
Yeah.
Weird.
So it must have been a serious problem that
Of
they
course.
had.
Yes.
Sorry, I turned it to Mike Skinner there for a second. Yeah, Albon's really getting a lot out of the car. And, the car's come on in leaps and bounds. Albon, him and the car are doing each other justice now, I think.
He's fit, but my God, don't you just know it? Yeah, he's good. Albon's doing what we all, I guess, kind of know Albon does. It's very good.
Yeah, I mean...
It was a shame where that pace went, though, in qualifying for them.
Oh, yeah. Gutting.
Yeah,
He did get through to the top 10 originally, didn't he? But then lost the lap time because of track limits.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I ended up 15. So it could have been better, and I think there was potential for maybe being a couple of places further forward. I think him and Ricciardo would have had a decent-ish battle if things had worked out different.
If the temperatures hadn't gone so wild, I think there was potential for him to upset things and stick that on the first two rows.
I think there's a chance because they are good before the track gets too hot.
And he was second in third practice.
Yeah, so that car, I can't believe how much that car's come on. I think behind McLaren, Williams are probably the second most improved car.
Yeah,
I can't say second most improved team because. Is everything going into one car? I've tried to defend Logan Sargent all season. The whole fact that he's coming a year earlier than planned and it wasn't in the programme, but I think it's one of those, he's coming to F1 too soon and it's going to kill his career.
Yeah. He needed one more year in GP F2, wherever it is. He did. It's a real shame as well because it wasn't like he's not Piastri, he's not Lando, he's not George, he's not Albon, he's not one of those drivers. But if you give him enough time, he might be a Gasly, maybe.
Ocon.
An Ocon, yeah. Give him a bit of time and he might have just got there. But the problem is you've pushed him, because he's got an American connection, I don't know, you've pushed him into the sport too quickly and it turns out he's just not ready and it looks worse for him. Becomes the P20 merchant, as they say online, and that's it.
American Latifi.
American Latifi. Yeah.
I think it doesn't help either. I've said before in this podcast, I think Albon can fight for world championships in the right car, and I think he's finding his way in Formula One, but also having to contend with somebody that is like really excelling the car and themselves. Albon's doing such a good job whenever the car's in the right window to do it. He's there. I think Williams have been really lucky for the past 2 years the past few years that they went from Russell directly to Albon. Without Albon, I think somebody else in that car, all of a sudden Sargent doesn't look like he's doing quite so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's got the disadvantage of definitely going up against a very informed Albon, a very happy Albon. Haven't seen him miserable in the last few races. Yeah, he's there. It's all there for Albon. Yeah. And he hasn't had many slip-ups this year at all.
That's what being out of the pressure that is the Red Bull organisation can do.
Yeah.
It proves his strength of character that he's been through the Red Bull meat grinder. And he's come out, not many drivers, or certainly young drivers, leave Red Bull and get into another team and excel in that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Bull's been the death knell for Buemi, Alguersuari, Christian Clean. Yeah, I could.
Vern.
Vern, definitely. I could. You can name at least. I'd probably say about 10 or 15 out of the 40 odd drivers that have been in the Red Bull Young Driver program that had the potential and they've just completely screwed.
Robbie Doorknobs.
Liuzzi.
Yeah.
If I was Williams, I'd be making a major deposit on Sergio Perez right now. I would be trying to get as much bank out of Doralton Capital and throw it on Perez and say, look, you're not happy here. Come to Williams, hang out.
Come to Williams to be unhappy here.
Do you like Q1? Do you like Q2? Not Q3. Ignore Q3. Q3, that's a pipe dream.
Well,
Q2.
Well, that's what he has been doing in a Red Bull, so...
It's like, what can we give you? More time to yourself on Saturdays.
You get Saturday afternoons off.
Yeah, early lunch, how about that?
It's like when new companies go, you get your birthday for free. You get Saturday afternoons.
I think...
I was about to make a joke about Perez is leaving a major deposit on Red Bull at the minute.
I think Perez retires after Red Bull.
I think if it's not Aston Martin or Williams, he does. He goes and does stock cars or something.
I think he might go to WEC.
Maybe I just meant from Formula One. He leaves Formula One because realistically, I know we all kind of got a little bit on the Checo train with it. How will he match up to Verstappen? I don't believe that he is consistently good enough to be in a top team.
The problem is it's all about form, isn't it? He was in form 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He's just not in form right now.
But that dropped off though, didn't it?
2 years in a row it's dropped off. Yeah.
I mean, it was Miami that did for him this year.
Yeah.
Because he has not been the same since.
And then Monaco was not long after Miami, was it? And he couldn't, he literally could hit a barn door from 7 paces. And then it's Singapore. He parked Albon. He hit Tsunoda. In Japan, he hit half the grid. Here, he's tried to take out. Well, he hasn't tried to take out Leclerc, superfluous, but he's done himself a injustice. Well, I know we're on Williams. All I'm trying to say is I reckon Williams is a good fit for Sergio.
I
don't think he'd go though. I think you've got to. I always think about this, like in the kind of a bit like Lance Stroll, to be perfectly honest, is if you especially one of these drivers that have, I mean, most drivers have got exceptionally rich families now. It's just the way it is. How long do you put your life on hold to drive Formula One?
Yeah, because Max is not going to do that.
No,
he'll go.
I don't think he's going to. We won't see him racing in F1 past 30.
I agree.
I think he comes back. I think he does that. I think I think he takes an Alonso style sabbatical from Formula One and comes back.
Saying about Perez being a good fit for Williams, right? Williams have got form on this because they have been the home of rest for old, potentially washed up number 2s for World Championship teams.
Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Barrichello and Massa spring to mind straight away.
Yeah.
God's waiting room.
Yeah. They were ahead of the curve with Bottas.
God's waiting room, the young adventures of.
Well, with Sean
I had a videotape of George of the Jungle when I was a child. I kept getting advertised before it. The Young Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that.
I won a copy of the video of George of the Jungle in a competition at work, and I swapped it with somebody for a bottle of Jack Daniels because they wanted to see George of the Jungle and didn't like JD. And I
That's me.
That
is
Your
me.
nursery was wild.
That wasn't. Yeah. No, I love George of the Jungle. Such a good film.
I remember the cartoons. I've never watched the film to this day, but every time somebody says, "Do you want to watch George of the Jungle?" I just get a craving for JD and Coke.
Put your hands together. Do the double. JD and Coke and George of the Jungle. I mean, in certain browser histories, questionable, but right now in the Disney Plus era, worth it.
If I didn't have a gig and it wasn't a sprint weekend Saturday, I would probably not do that anyway.
No, you wouldn't. You were saying about Shallow Grave earlier. I've had that sitting on my DVD shelf for about 15 years. I'm an edgy sick form. I'll buy Shallow Grave on DVD. Never watch it.
Get the American version. They redubbed it a little bit, and the Scottish accents aren't quite as strong.
Howdy, y'all.
It's like
Okay, the new partner.
it's like the John Lacey Head and Shoulders advert.
God.
Hi, I'm John Lacey. It's like, no, you fucking not.
No, but he was actually John Lacey.
I feel like there was a weirdly dubbed Fiat advert as well when Fernando Alonso was at Ferrari.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that rings a bell.
that's ringing bells. Yeah, I think they made him Canadian or something.
Yeah,
haven't
it was
they?
a weird, slightly sort of camp sounding voiceover, and it's like, Alonso speaks very good English. Why is this a thing?
That's going to be what I look for on YouTube. If anyone can find the link, send us it.
The Jensen Button Head and Shoulders ad looks like it took 12 takes in a sound booth after that was filmed as well.
Was that the bracing one?
That's it. Embrace. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
I hope we got paid all the money for that. All of it.
Well, you are an appreciator of a good hair game in F1, so Lee, you
I
can be the judge.
I am. Yeah. But hair games aren't. It's not a good time for hair game in Formula One.
No?
You're
Not
just,
really.
You're just gutted that Dan Ticktum didn't get a seat anywhere with his flock of seagulls quiff.
Yeah. Well, I would. I mean, he's more bordering on scene girl / emo, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young. Blood.
Yeah, with about
Yeah.
with about the same sulky temperament.
Yeah. yeah.
There's very few My Chemical Romance albums called "You Fucking Screwed Me on This One, You Prick."
Yeah,
I still think
that's more
one
Papa
of-
Roach.
Him when he radioed his team and said, "Just make sure there's a fucking taxi waiting for me. I don't want to speak to any of you," is one of the greatest radio communications after a race anyone has ever said. If you don't want that in Formula One, I don't know what to say to you.
No, I mean, I would love him to have that opportunity in F1 just to make an even bigger prick of himself.
I just love it. Like it wasn't our day today, Toto. It wasn't our day today, Dan. Get fucked, Toto.
Bono on radio. Oh, sorry, mate, that didn't work out for us. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah, Dan, it's James.
James, it's my ball bag. Fuck off.
Talking of body parts, AlphaTauri next. Yeah, everyone's saying the old Danny Rick's back. He's good at Mexico.
Yeah.
He always
He is,
has been good at Mexico. We'll find it. I think we'll find out if the old Danny Rick is back in Vegas because that's a complete unknown quantity.
I I reckon it's a 40-40-20 split of the AlphaTauri was good. He's good in Mexico, and the 20% being he's actually still all right.
Yeah,
Still
because
string it together.
Sonoda was doing very well until he had his little trip with Piastri.
Yeah. To which the radio message was, fuck you.
Yeah, he was unhappy. He was very unhappy on the radio.
I mean, it's an angry young man.
Sonoda's very fun on the radio.
Yeah.
I like Sonoda very much.
I mean, he went full Kimmy at one point. I don't want any more information. Don't tell me anything. Yeah, he doesn't hide his feelings.
No.
You know,
Did you see before the race the mascot that he had in front of him? Sorry, the mascot was like a 9-year-old child, was nearly as tall as him. They planned him across, and they gave him the tallest mascot.
Amazing.
Don't do that.
No, we think this is an actual thing. We've studied this in football quite extensively, and we're pretty confident you get shortest mascot with the goalkeeper, tallest mascot with the little guy every single time.
But yeah, I mean, Yuki was going good till he had his moment.
Yeah.
He's having less and less of those moments, but when he does, it kind of makes him a little bit more special because they're all the more spectacular. And it's good that you don't hear him shouting and kicking off every race because you know it's more fun when he does it rarely. You know, it's a special treat. But yeah, Danny Rick with that qualification and the race performance was you know, I mean, I would probably say Yuki's result aside, that was the best all-round performance that we've seen from AlphaTauri all season.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Definitely.
Really good.
You know, because again, they've come from, well, is it a dog of a car? We don't know because De Vries can't handle it and Yuki seems to be doing okay, but we were expecting more. But then again, we expect more from the Red Bull second team, whatever they're called at any particular time, because I know they're changing the name next year. But we always think at the start of the season, yes, this is it. They've got the car, they've got the lineup, they've got everything in place. And like, they're battling for 11th.
Yeah.
Sorry, am I keeping you awake?
Sorry, I did do slightly big yawn then. Sorry.
I did like the way that when Sonoda did his little spin out Piastri, he hit the steering wheel about 6 times and swore and exclaimed a lot before going, "Oh shit, I'm in a race, aren't I?"
Yeah, someone described it as the hand flap while still spinning, straight out of Blades of Glory. But yeah, I mean, hopefully AlphaTauri or whatever they're going to be next season will capitalise on what they've managed to pull together, and if they keep the same lineup, then you know there's a chance that they'll be double troubling the scorers at some point next year.
It's where they should be. Mm-hmm. You know, when you consider, I heard it on the commentary. Somebody referred to them as like AlphaTauri, the small Italian team. Go like the small Italian team, which is the sister team of fucking Red Bull.
I mean, they're carrying the Minardi legacy, aren't they? And they were the small Italian team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, they're not quite as... What's that cat doing? Oh, God. Might be doing the rest of the show through a scarf over the face. Lost my thread completely. But, yeah, they seem to still have, like, a small team mentality, and they're just being scrappy and trying to get every point they can, when there should be more to them than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder what the new boss is going to bring in, because, of course, French Toast is done at the end of the year. So, you know, there'll be fairly big changes. Yeah, definitely down as one to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Right, McLaren next. Lando, what a drive! What an absolute recovery!
Mm-hmm.
One of his best drives, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? He qualified 17th because he just he admitted himself he cocked up his second lap in Q1 and was just absolutely nowhere. And thought, he might get in the points if the wind's in the right direction and enough drivers go out.
And that's what happened.
But yeah,
Eventually.
fifth. And 3 of the drivers went out. Would have probably finished behind him anyway. Well, two of them would.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really say where Perez would have finished.
Yeah.
But
If he'd have had a better restart, I think he'd be on the podium.
it was
Yeah.
it was unlucky pitting just before the red flag.
Well, it was his restart. I haven't watched it back yet, but apparently in the pen he was. He didn't say which driver it was, but he was quite critical of how some drivers handled the restart.
Let's
So
call him Mr. E. Ocon. No, that's too obvious.
Yeah,
Mr. Man O.
yeah, because I think he lost 4 places at the restart.
yeah, yeah. So I that's what I mean. I think if he'd have had like a decent start on his restart and not lost those places and maybe picked up a spot or two, I think he'd have been hassling like third,
Yeah.
second,
In with the
maybe.
Ferraris.
Yeah,
Yeah, he definitely had the pace of the certainly Leclerc and Sainz.
I think Lewis was too quick, but maybe the Ferraris.
It would have been interesting to see Lando in clear air though, because Lando
Yeah.
was rapid towards the end of the race, and the big thing there was he kept his tires in as well.
Oh no, don't worry. The mediums are going to go off any day now. Any day now. Thursday, next Wednesday, whenever. They're going to go off.
Yeah, what was it said to Leclerc? Within 5 laps, the hards will be faster than the mediums.
Yeah. Because that's how they're going, oh, brilliant. Now we've got Ferrari said it.
And Piastri as well. I never thought I'd say this, but 8th for him. Could have done better.
Yeah.
Well, he was done by Lando. When you think about the amount of time Lando had to make up on him, because even before the red flag, he was only 2 seconds behind Piastri and catching him before the red flag came out.
I mean,
I mean,
the told
Lando-
Piastri they were going to swap positions unless he picked it up by at least half a second a lap.
yeah,
And then within 2 laps, they'd swap positions.
yeah.
Lando, before he even got to his teammate, who should have been, because he wasn't racing a huge amount of people apart from Tsunoda, he should have had much cleaner tyres further up the road. But in the time it was to get to Piastri, sorry, he'd had to overtake Zhou, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Albon, Ocon. Not Tsunoda, he spun out. So he had to overtake 5 cars before he even got to Piastri. And then he just well, I mean, I know they did the swap, but Lando would have just creamed him 1 lap later.
Yeah, and then by the end of the race, put another 10 seconds on him and passed 2 more cars.
Yeah.
I mean, Lando is definitely my driver of the day after that performance.
Yeah,
I think he
agree.
was driver of the day, wasn't he? In the public vote, I think he won that.
Oh, I missed that because I switched up at a red zone by that point.
How did you miss it and I didn't? Because we were watching the same TV.
In that case, I've got no idea.
I caught precisely 20 seconds of red zone this week, and that was the Browns missing their play, us winning and going, brilliant. Back to Natalie.
Yeah, the 49ers lost, so I'm not happy.
Oh, God, what a shame. Sorry. 6-2 now.
It was like,
Just for the like the uneducated, what is a red zone?
Well, if you listen to the Patreon podcast,
Red Zone is a live highlights show of NFL where they switch between all the games that are going on at the same time, and you get to see all the big plays and all the action.
have you never seen Scott Hansen's Octobox?
That's chapter 7.
So yeah, it's like Final Score, except they actually get the rights to show everything, and you don't miss a play. You know, they'll go from Denver to Seattle to Cleveland to Cincinnati, back and forth every 10 seconds. Sometimes they'll put 4 plays on at once. It's good.
And the Octobox is when they put all 8 on at the same time.
That's a real treat, that.
You need a big TV for that.
It
doesn't work on iPhone.
It feels like the sort of thing that would have been played at the end of Clockwork Orange while they were holding his eyes open.
You will watch a punt between New York Jets and Buffalo Bills. You will. They had scoregami this weekend in the NFL as well, which is another exciting fact.
Is that like competitive origami?
Yeah, scoregami. It's where
His internet's failing. We may never find out.
oh, really? Oh, have you got me?
You're right.
You're
You're
back.
there.
You're back.
Basically, it's just where there's a unique score in the NFL. Yeah. So it was something like 20-47, which has never happened before in the NFL, and they call it scoregami. One for the Carol Vordemans among us.
I'm sure I speak to everyone and say, well, this is incredible.
If we can bring it back to F1, I would say one thing about Lando Norris, that whenever he's chatting to Natalie, tea delivery, whenever he's chatting to Natalie Pinkham, there is a big going to shag my step aunt energy between the two.
Are we saying mummy issues here?
Yeah, maybe. There's just this. There was this. I think it was Lando taking Natalie around a track in a hot lap about a year and a half ago or so, and it might be an empty track somewhere near McLaren, and he just accelerates, and it looks like Natalie's having a fantastic time. And since then, I can't watch the two of them do banter because there's very much a sort of that thing,
a fan fiction.
A fan fiction, yeah.
Next time he's talking to her, look at his neck. We'll do anything to avoid talking about Ferrari, won't we?
Oh, God, Ferrari.
Well, they didn't fuck up. They looked into getting a new front wing for Leclerc after bits of the old one ended up scattered all over the place. They didn't get anything wrong.
No,
but they didn't start where they didn't finish where they started.
No. They've locked out the front row. That's, 11 consecutive poles now that Leclerc's had and not won. Mm-hmm. By the time Perez actually hit Leclerc was in third.
Yeah. The thing is that Mexico invites that, doesn't it? Everyone, if you've got a slipstream, you're way faster than the front row, aren't you? So Sainz and Leclerc were going to get mugged somehow.
Yeah. And, they did big style.
Yeah.
But I mean, after that, they kind of rescued things, and I don't think they were expecting Lewis to be as quick as he was.
No, he came through with it, didn't he? Because going into Mercedes looked nowhere on Friday, but Ferrari didn't look anywhere on Saturday until they turned up in Q3. So it's a bit of a topsy-turvy track for some teams, apart from Max.
Yeah, because I mean, what was it? Q2. There was sort of fourth and seventh. It was like, oh right, okay, that's as good as Ferrari are going to get this weekend, and then they go and put those 2 laps in Q3, and it's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They fulfilled what they needed to do: stay out of trouble, and not trip over each other, and just get the best out of the car, which they both probably did. I don't think Leclerc was nominally slow. I don't think Sainz was. They just did what they needed to, and it turned into third and fourth.
Yeah. Did they go a little bit too cautious though with the hard tyres after the restart? Because obviously Hamilton proved that the mediums definitely worked.
Oh, there was one wacky moment where they put that message across, didn't they? Saying, "Don't worry, the medium tyres are going to fall off in 5 laps, and we'll be the quicker tyre." By the way, Charles, can you slow down a bit to give Carlos a tow?
Yeah,
The counterpoints.
yeah. You're going to be quick, but don't be too quick.
Yeah, because we'll lose fourth.
Yeah. There's always Ferrari seem to be getting the big things sorted out. I said this before when Scarbs was on, and it's now the little things that they need to concentrate on. I just would not like to be Fred Vasseur because he will just like, oh, for God's sake, what now?
Yeah.
And
I don't see them as any different. I know, like, as far as Fred Vasseur coming in, I don't see the like functionally, like the team. I don't see any change from when, just headless chicken Ferrari.
well, I mean, the main difference is they're now admitting when they've made a mistake. Before it was.
Are they?
Well, yeah, they said that about the tyre strategy last week at COTA.
No, but didn't they? The way they admitted it, it was weird. Because it was like oh fuck! I was saying this to somebody the other day about it, and I've completely forgot about it. I should have tried to remember it for the podcast. They like accepted they'd made a mistake without taking any blame for it. If you listen back to it, it was weird how they admitted they'd fucked it up.
I'll have to look out for that because I didn't bother reading the article. I just saw the headlines like Vasseur, we got the tyre strategy wrong. It's like, right, okay, they're admitting it. But if it was we got the tyre strategy wrong, asterisk.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I mean the thing is, can anybody see the like Ferrari doing anything but being the team that wins a couple of races again next year?
Nah.
No, same. We're going to get 2024, which is 2023, basically, aren't we? Yeah.
But the problem is other teams are getting faster, and yeah, okay, you say Ferrari might be the team that wins a couple of races next year.
Oh, they might not be as well.
I was going to say
Yeah.
it might.
That's a best case scenario.
It might be Ferrari are getting a couple of double podiums next year, and that's about as best as they can hope for.
Yeah, especially if McLaren can keep the trajectory they've got, if Mercedes can keep the trajectory they've got, if Aston Martin can like reignite the form they had early season,
Yeah.
then I can easily see Ferrari getting shuffled back because I can see them staying where they are while other teams move forward.
Yeah, I mean, a 4-way fight for second in the Constructors' Championship. You would expect Ferrari to be the ones that actually crumbled under the pressure and couldn't handle the fight.
When was their last double podium? Have they had one this year?
I don't think so. Not this year.
No, they haven't. Not this year.
Have they had one, but it's one of the ones where Sainz has inherited a position?
Oh, I've read that wrong, actually. Well, yeah, so no, they haven't, because last week Leclerc lost his position, which put Sainz on the podium. I've read my chart wrong.
Have Sainz and Leclerc been on the podium together? They've had a 1-2, haven't they?
Yeah,
in their career,
Silverstone
yes.
was, weren't they?
Yeah.
That was a 1-2.
But they haven't this year.
No, they haven't. No.
No, I mean,
And that's no good for Ferrari, because if they're, I mean, this is going to sound obvious to say, if you're not winning the races, get as many podiums as possible. But if basically, it's just going to be Terry Venables logic. If one driver's on the podium, there's one less space for the other driver.
Singapore last year was their the last double.
Deary me.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, really quite poor.
I think it makes it even worse when you look at the form Perez has had. Perez has been in a position where he hasn't been able to find the podium with a map. So it's instantly, in other years, you would have had, like, let's say back with the Bottas and Hamilton Mercedes days, you just had two nailed on podium positions there unless something went wrong.
Yeah. In the first 5 races for Sergio this year, he got 2 first, 2 second, and 5th. And in the last 5 races this year, he's retired twice, 4th, 8th, and 10th.
I mean, that is just so far off the boil.
It is.
I mean, we'll get to his weekend in a bit, but Mercedes, the car is getting quicker.
It seems to be back in the position though, doesn't it, where it can't be quick for both drivers.
Yeah, I think the latest upgrades appear to favour Lewis.
I don't think there's necessarily a bad thing about that as well. Lewis is slightly more informed than George this year, the same way George was slightly more informed last year.
How dare you? Lewis spent half the year last year toiling in the garage, testing setups. I know this because Team LH Twitter told me.
And isn't your 4th cousin 7 times removed George Russell or something?
Twice removed.
Twice.
Second cousin.
But yeah, I mean,
That is cool. Just to get this on record, that is so cool. I love that.
you should have seen the look on his face when we were interviewing him and Lee whipped out the family tree.
Yep. Guarantee. At no point in his career now or in the future will the person interviewing him say, "Do you know we're related?" That's not a question he's going to get again.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone look so stunned. And I've seen a lot of stunned people in my time.
The funny thing was, like, I had to bring it up because it's fucking wild. But on the other hand, I was there. How do I pass this off as a joke? Because
you don't want to sound too stalkerish.
Yeah, it can't sound mental, and it was anything but stalkery as well. Because I found out 2 days before we went to do the interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know. It was just my uncle was in the pub. We were talking about Formula One, and I was saying we were going because it was the GP2, the year he was going to GP2. We were there, and my uncle Roddy was saying about like the George Russell guy that's in GP2. He's related to us. I'm like, what? The George Russell I'm going to interview at Mercedes headquarters is related to us, and my uncle was the one that wrote the family tree down.
Weird. Which is why it was on the back of a beer mat. In Biro.
I don't know an Uncle Man's brown ale, funnily enough.
Yeah, that is one of the most surreal things I think I've ever witnessed in my life, and will ever witness in my life.
Brilliant.
It's a really good job that we didn't interview Lando like a couple of years later, and rather than a couple of weeks later, because my question would have been, Lando, we're not related, but I'd really like us to be.
Get in the cage.
Show us your neck. But yes, Mercedes definitely improving the car in the right direction. I still think that they can't make a car to follow. And until they learn that skill, then they are going to struggle, and they're going to have to do a lot of following because, and we will do Red Bull now. It is just an incredible car. and it is also being driven by the fastest driver on the grid.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have conversations about him when he retires. You know, like I'll hold my hands up because I know I said at one point that I thought there was a chance of Max Verstappen becoming the next Gilles Villeneuve. Is in a guy which was like stunningly fast, but never actually like maximizes that. Whereas I think there will be conversations about whether he's the greatest of all time when he retires.
I mean, there is every chance because
Without stats as well, because I think some people confuse the best talents of all time with numbers. And Formula One, I don't think, although obviously a good indicator, being a world champion is a good indicator of your ability to be a racing driver. But Formula One's also that sport where you can get as Max is having this year, you can get a car where you are pretty much invulnerable to everybody else. But the difference this year is you can see the difference between Max and Perez is shown why he's so special this year.
yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, you can see the difference between Max and everyone. I mean, he still has, I think it's more than 100 points clear of Mercedes, personally. Just him.
Max wins next. Did I say this last week? I think I said this last week. I think it's actually next week. Max wins in Brazil, regardless of what Mercedes
Beats Vettel's record.
do. He'll win the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah.
Mercedes can't catch him.
I think there's something as well that it's either next week or like if he wins two races, he like equals Vettel's win record or something like that.
In half the time. I mean, there are more there are more races these days, but I mean, they're going all out for the biggest percentage wins in a season for a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not showing any signs of letting up. It's not just don't push this car at 100%. Then again, when he got into the lead and he got the 2.5 second gap, you just knew that there was more available in that car, and he was just cruising, and he was just holding that gap. And if anyone behind him had tried to close up, he'd have just gone off and look, it's 2.5 seconds again.
Maybe I do think they had to worry about tyres though this weekend. Let's not forget he pitted early, compared to who was around him. I think that car is again. Look at Perez. In different hands, that car is still beatable.
Well, especially when half of it's on the track and there's most of a side pod missing.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
True.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, Max had probably still got top 10 with Perez's car, even in that state. Are we going to talk about the dick move? Because it was a dick move.
Oh, which one is this? Sorry.
The Perez question.
The Perez dick move.
I think it was
Yes.
it was huge overexcitement, wasn't it? I think it's like, oh my god, I'm going to lead my home race. Oh fuck, a Ferrari.
I mean, he was lucky not to take himself and Charles and Max out at that point.
Yeah, it could have been. It was a sort of similar thing to what happened with Ocon and Hülkenberg and Perez at was it Qatar sprint race where the three came together, where the bloke on the far left has not noticed the bloke on the far right, so he just thinks he's squeezing the bloke in the middle. But Sergio would have known that Max was there.
Yeah.
He surely wasn't driving down there going, it's me or Charles now.
Yeah, I don't want to make this a regular part of the podcast, but I couldn't help but notice the Mr. Apex guy posted.
Would that be Mr. Spanners?
Yes, it would be. How if now everybody's decided that this is Perez's fault, this accident, maybe we should go back and revisit Max and Lewis coming together when Max was on the outside I was there reading this, going, like, yeah, because you completely missing the fact that there was 3 fucking cars side by side in this accident.
Yeah, not
And only
every
2.
crash is the same.
Yeah,
And it was about 60 miles an hour.
No. 20 of those Silverstone crashes were the same because Albon reenacted it.
yes.
That's true.
Just I really couldn't believe it. It was one of those things where I was reading it going, you don't believe that. You do not believe what you're saying. You're just looking for the clicks.
Yeah.
Oh, and you've been baited.
No, because I didn't reply to him.
No,
You went to his house.
you just and sang carols in a duet with Esteban Ocon.
No, I sent Adrian Sutil drunk with a bottle of wine and a glass.
God.
But yeah,
Would that
I
be
mean,
to the neck?
I mean,
Sorry.
Perez said that he got over enthusiastic. I mean, that's one way of describing it, I guess.
I mean, I liked what he said. He said he's been on the podium twice before. He had no interest to be on the podium. He wanted to win the race. And the only way Perez beats Max Verstappen and wins that Grand Prix is if he leads into the first turn, and he hopes someone gets in between him and Max Verstappen and shenanigans ensue.
Well, he was in the lead, and he had somebody between him and Max, and shenanigans ensued.
Do you know what it is? It's the actions of a man that knows that he's never going to get a car capable of winning a Grand Prix again.
Yeah.
Or his home Grand Prix again.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's not going to win it in the Williams or the Aston Martin or the safety car next year. Yeah, Bernd might fancy a day off.
He
Not his finest moment.
if he takes the lead, Max is back past him on lap 3.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, go back to Miami. He was in the lead.
Yeah. It all
And
fell apart.
yeah, he was in the lead. And how much did he end up losing it by?
Have I completely forgotten Miami?
It's in America.
Yeah. Watery.
Yeah, he was in the lead. Max started in 9th. Max won by 5 and a bit seconds.
Oh, yeah. I was expecting Sergio to be like 49th there.
It's weird though,
Logan's
isn't it?
starting position.
It is weird how he's dropped off like this. Like it's really got to him not being able to like match Max's peaks.
Yeah.
And seeing as how Max seems to be able to hit his peaks pretty regularly, you know, you're in trouble.
I mean, to quote The Simpsons, just watch the Miami Grand Prix back and look there. You can pinpoint the exact moment where his heart breaks in two.
Yeah. But the weird thing is, it's he must have never expected, like the call to Red Bull was completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, hang on a second, Sergio Perez is going where? I thought he didn't have a drive. I thought he was being retired. So not only was he given a lifeline in Formula One, he was given a lifeline into like one of the best teams of all time, and then given the best car. I'm surprised Perez didn't graciously take the Barrichello role.
Yeah.
You know, when you consider how dominated, I mean, more so than Massa even, how dominated Barrichello was, but he knew he wasn't going to get a better position to be in than being the number 2 to Michael Schumacher. You know, he's and Perez. Let's be honest as well. In this era of Formula One and in Red Bull, Perez has more opportunities to win Grand Prix than Barrichello had. You know, Ferrari would straight up hold Barrichello in the pit box if they needed to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems strange that he's the only driver I can think of. I mean, but Bottas as well. Bottas didn't want to be the number 2 to Lewis Hamilton. He didn't enjoy that. Every time Lewis would go out and do like a qualifying lap, and all of a sudden he'd find like 0.3 on Bottas or half a second. But Bottas could still get 1-2s for the team. You know, he was being dominated by his teammate, but his performance didn't drop off to the point where like McLarens and Mercedeses and Ferraris can get in the mix.
Yeah, is he done this year? Do you think he's going to go?
I think he leaves. I think he leaves the sport.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves Red Bull. Whether or not something opens up somewhere else, I don't know.
I mean, the only seat at the moment's Williams, unless Red Bull go in for a big money offer for Fernando or Lando
or a team gets sold.
Yeah.
I think Red Bull only replaced Perez with Danny. And
I think you're probably right.
That's if Danny has a good couple of races.
I think you're probably right. I think the Fernando Alonso to Red Bull thing would be fucking great, but but that's the only.
Just think how many hats they would sell. Just to you.
Just me. I'm not much of a cat person, to be fair.
Fernando in Red Bull, you bloody will be though, won't you?
Well, no, because I'm not much of an energy drink person either. I'd have been more likely to have bought a Fernando Aston Martin cap if I was going to get any of them. But I'd buy a World Championship one if he happened to win a World Championship. I'd buy that.
Does Kimoa still exist? I feel like I haven't seen much of Kimoa recently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're still doing things. I mean, they had a new hat for the Miami Grand Prix. I'm sure they will have a full range for Vegas.
Yeah,
Lee, you're going to look like again the episode of Friends where Joey claims the Porsche as his own, and he buys all the Porsche.
Yeah. Did a Porsche throw up
on you? But as far as Perez staying in Formula One after Red Bull, I can only see Aston Martin being the place there because it's kind of the spiritual home, isn't it? You know, he knows all the people there. He's he saved the team at one point.
Yeah.
So I that's the only one I can see, but even that I find unlikely. I don't think we've seen what happens when people decide they can't be the number 2 anymore. And it's Bottas.
Yeah, they go to Williams. Or if you're a Ferrari driver, occasionally Alfa Romeo. I think Alfa Romeo and Williams are on 2-2 for retired Ferrari drivers, aren't they?
Alfa Romeo, Kimi.
Oh no, sorry, they're not. Bottas isn't a retired Ferrari driver.
I'm confusing Ferrari and Finnish.
Yeah, brain fart. But they're both 2-2 for number 2s who want to drive as number 1 for a small team.
I think Kimi gets a bye because he's a world champion.
Yeah, and I think it was just his retirement plan as well.
Yeah, not a discarded number 2.
Right, I think we've been waffling long enough. If you want to get in touch, then please do email 3legsportwheels@gmail.com. Just a correction to make from last week, it's fcmotorsports.net you want to get in touch with. I got very seriously berated over that. They are looking for help, sponsors, anything, whatever, so get in touch with them there. info@fcmotorsports.net. Happy now, Stephen? We're at 3legsportwheels on all the socials, and individually on Twitter we are
at Sean Cowper,
at Kieran is boring,
at the Lee Stevens,
and I'm at Pablo100, and you can get hold of Flood at Flood21. Right, we're going to leave you with about a 5-minute excerpt from tonight's Patreon show, so you can see what you're missing. It's it's I'd say probably one of the most interesting shows that I think we've
It's
done.
a different style for us, isn't it?
It is. Anyone who's ever listened to My Dad Wrote a Porno will know the style that we're going for, right down to the porno. Although there is no porn in this clip. There is a lot of neck.
Yeah, I suppose it depends what
Well,
you're into, really, doesn't it? If you're into
yeah.
your necks, you're going to love it.
Necrophilia? No.
That's something different. That is something different.
Different spelling. It doesn't carry over well on audio. Right, we will be back next week after the Brazilian Grand Prix. Look for us on Discord if you want to join in the chat during races, and if you like what you hear on the Patreon, then just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels and give us a subscription there, and there'll be more of that book coming soon. Right, until then, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We're gonna do a reading with reactions. Any similarities between what we're about to do and another popular podcast where one of the member of the team's parents composed an adult novel is purely incidental, and we're ripping them off blind.
Just realised I'm still a patron. I'm funding this. I'm the bastard.
I'd like to welcome our new patrons. This is probably going to be the only show that they listen to. So, I will take one for the team and read it, but please feel free to
We will provide feedback.
feel free to interject.
Yes.
So, Chapter 1, The Starting Line. Well, it's a good start. Emily Jensen was no ordinary woman. In a world consumed by fashion, celebrity gossip, and reality TV, she found herself drawn to the roar of engines, the smell of burning rubber, and the thrill of high-speed chases on asphalt circuits.
I like the fact that the first character we come across has already got half a Formula One driver's name.
She sounds like a standard Peel girl during TT week.
He didn't say pregnant anywhere in that.
Which reminds me of my all-time ultimate favourite Peel Girl story.
Uh-huh.
We're in a pub in Peel, and
For clarification, on the Isle of Man, we tell Peel girl jokes instead of Essex girl jokes.
yeah.
Right.
So we're in a crowd of us in a pub. I was at the bar, getting around in, and this very pregnant girl walked past with a bottle of Wicked and a straw in one hand, and her mobile in the other, and all I heard her say was, "No, Mum, since I got pregnant, I've stopped putting the port in."
Wow.
Welcome to the Isle of Man.
At least it's a classy mixer. Not saying, I'm just down to the 4 aftershocks a day now, Mum.
Yep, she got pregnant, her Vimto's got less cheeky. So, she was an ardent Formula One enthusiast, a passion she embraced wholeheartedly, despite the surprised reaction she often received. Right,
I'm going to guess that's not the only hole that's going to be embraced.
So apparently women aren't allowed to like F1.
Yeah, didn't Christian Horner try to say that a few months back? Didn't go well for him.
No, I'm sure there's quite a large number of listeners to this show, and quite a lot of Formula One fans that don't listen to the show, why not, that would disagree with that. Anyway, her friends joked that she should have been born with a racing helmet on her head and a checkered flag in her hand.
It's an uncomfortable
Jesus
birth,
Christ,
isn't it?
that cracker path.
I'm guessing that would have to be some kind of cesarean. That would not be natural.
It's a questionable cesarean.
Oh, with or without hands device?
Oh, God, no, that thing's got bolts on it. Emily simply laughed along, her hazel eyes shining with an undying love for the sport. Her apartment, a chic modern space in the heart of the city, doesn't say which one, bore testament to her obsession, adorned with posters of legendary races, scale models of famous cars, and a collection of biographies of her favourite drivers.
Well, if she's got that much merchandise, she's clearly earning well.
Also, there's no one who has a poster of like the 2017 Azerbaijan Grand Prix or a poster of my favourite race.
I mean, she must have a good job. Maybe international sales director for a pots and pans company.
Probably not that.
If you know, you know. Above all, there was one driver who had won not just races, but Emily's heart as well. Daniel Ricciardo. An Australian racing driver known for his skill behind the wheel and his charismatic personality. She'd been smitten with him since his early days in the sport. Drawn by his talent... Hang on. He started for HRT. You couldn't tell if he had talent or not. He was driving a shed.
Fair.
True.
Just for anyone who isn't aware, HRT were a Formula One team, not a subplot to this story.
We think we're only on page 2. I haven't pre-read any of this. This is all new to me. So she'd been smitten with him since his early days in the sport, drawn by his talent, his infectious smile and his easygoing attitude. Emily knew his stats by heart, had watched every race he'd ever driven, and even had an entire wall in her home dedicated to him, but not in a weird stalker kind of way.
No, it doesn't sound like weird stalker behaviour, that, having
I
an
don't
entire
know.
wall. Fucking hell.
Remember that Alan Partridge episode?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I feel a bit weird.
You're a mental!
That's it.
I was ready for that.
Emily's desire for Daniel Ricciardo was more than just a fangirl's infatuation. Whenever she saw a photo of Daniel, she couldn't help but marvel at his sharp features. The strong jawline, the warm brown eyes, the stubble that added a rugged charm to his face. But what caught her attention the most was his neck. A thick, spelt T-H-I-C-C, by the way.
Yes, someone that truly commands the English language.
I don't think human is her first species. This is by Anita Driver, by the way, which I think is a pun.